Hi everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the practice and the power. So when we train in Wudagong, we develop power, and the power that we talk about should be like a spring. And this type of energy or strength, once it's developed, is called Pungjing, which is used very familiar practice or force in Tai Chi. So Tai Chi talks about Pungjing. So it's a force that is connected to the whole body, and it's very much like a spring. So for example, if Fontaine was holding my wrist like this, if I just use muscular force and she's pushing against me, it's a lot of effort. You can say I really have to use my strength to try to move her or lift her. If I can, if I have the ward off feeling, the Pungjing force, it's quite different. So it looks like a bit of a mystery. It looks like a fake thing. A lot of people think it's quite fake. But if your body is really together and you do have that force, think of it this way. So she exerts pressure, pushes hard against me to prevent me from moving. I can absorb her pressure. And once I absorb it, of course, there's less force against my body, against my arms. So I've actually absorbed that pressure through my legs and into the ground. So it's almost, you think of pushing a wheelbarrow. So somebody moving a wheelbarrow would rely more on their legs than their shoulders. So if you did this, you become unstable, especially if it's a very heavy load, or you would get tired very quickly. You wouldn't be able to do much. So it's designed, the wheelbarrow is designed in such a way that it utilizes your legs. So you're actually pushing, moving with your legs. Your arms stabilize or transfer the strength to the legs, to the wheelbarrow itself. So you're actually using it in a certain way that gives you the power from the ground. So we do also call some of our training getting ground force. A lot of leg work helps that, so being able to sit in the legs. But when I'm using it, of course, you don't have time to just come down into the legs. You could, and that would make it a lot easier. But just having this kind of force is good enough. If I want, it also gives me a lot of options. You can see once I lift up my arm, you can see now it's even harder for Fontaine to use her force. As she pushes down, you can see I'm just changing angles and adjusting. Okay, so this is ward off. So ward off means that if she's pushing this way, it's like a spring, as I mentioned, and it just gives me options. So from ward off, we also have liu, roll back. So it means neutralize. So they kind of work together. So one helps the other one. So if your force is very good, if you have strong force, this is what we develop in Wudagong. So the force is relaxed, it has power, it's very much like a spring, and it's whole body force. If you can see, when I punch, it's coming up. Even my hand can be quite soft, but I'm able to convey that power, to my hand. So all the training, all the foundation training is to develop this quality. So once the force is strong, I can give force, but I can also receive force, which means your ability to neutralize is greatly enhanced. So, when the person is punching, let's say Fontaine punches, I have to be able to connect with her force and absorb that pressure. So she's pushing against me again, and like strong, yeah, that's good. So I'm able to use my Pungjing to help me to absorb the force. Okay, but if I feel like, okay, that's getting a bit too much, I'll just change. So once I change, again, it's more dramatic because all of her power is going against me, right? All of her power is going against
So
me.
I've committed myself.
Yeah, so now all I have to do is change a little bit, and that creates a bigger reaction.
Also, once I've committed myself, it really means that my center depends on his movement, and that's why it's so easy to lose balance.
That's a good point, because normally, your center is here, but when you meet your partner, it's somewhere around here. So it's no longer in your body directly, okay?
And especially if the more harder I try to push,
I've taken her
the
center,
more
already I've
my
taken the
center
center.
is.
So as she keeps adding pressure and I change my arm position, this is called split or leap. I've divided her force, so now she doesn't have the control, even less control. So of course at the moment I'm demonstrating on someone who's not as big, but Fontaine is quite strong and it works with other people as well. However, let's just be honest here, with people who are very skilled and very strong, similar training, it's not that easy. They can change too. They have a lot of forces going on. So the point I'm trying to make here is this is what we call foundation, that you have that ability, you have strength through your whole body, you can issue power through your whole body. And okay, when we train, we often in the very beginning, you have to learn how to release power through long force. So it appears kind of useless. We say that, the long force trains a short force. The long force isn't what we're looking for. So people who are trying to make, these long punches and think that it's of course it'll hurt you, but you don't get that chance, because as soon as someone wants to throw a punch, you can see you come in very quickly, you adapt to their whatever they've done. So I've intercepted her force straight away. There's not much. Once I'm here, I'm in control again. I've got control and power. I can do a whole lot of things. So big movements, if I do a big movement like that, yeah, it's quite obvious what I'm going to do. Okay, if I'm not confident, if I don't have ward off, I will be scared, because I know I can't really deal with that. So that's when, if you do big punches, that's when people try to sort of avoid what's going on. So most people are kind of ducking and weaving and waiting for opportunities. They also, if you haven't trained in this type of training, you normally use like a chain of force. Okay, so that starts with the foot, goes up, and comes to the arm. Now, if you intercept that chain at any point, it's very hard to continue releasing that force. But with our sort of training, yeah, of course we have that idea, but we even if we're close, like Fontaine's holding me here, that even though it looks, I shouldn't be able to deliver force from here, but my body can suddenly kind of like shake or develop power under very sort of restricted conditions. Doesn't need distance to create power. So that's like the training is doing that. So you don't need the same momentum. So it's very different thinking. A lot of people don't see that. They think, that stuff can't work. It's not as good as the modern way. But people thought about these things for a long time. But you have to be good at it. If you haven't done the training or the foundation work, it won't work. You'll also be struggling. So yeah, you must have a certain level before you can actually apply these things. So just to explain one more time. So talk about ward off, that was the first thing. Even in the punch, when the punch comes, that should also have ward off, like a spring. Yeah, it has that. So it's not, I don't just sort of like, if she pushes down or away, I don't just collapse. Okay, most people's force isn't connected to the whole body. So this way, even whatever you do, I still have something there. So this is another example of ward off force. And when we neutralize, when the person attacks, whatever, yeah, that you're controlling them through wherever you touch, you control them. So if she punches again, yeah, whatever I do, I'm controlling her. I'm controlling her body. That's important. The other thing, it's a bit hard to do here, but maybe if Fontaine takes a pad, I can explain that. So when we apply the force, so usually our force is short. So if I'm here and I want to stop her punch, I just use my force that way. Okay, I just suddenly use it. Maybe I'll show it one more time, just so she's okay. All right, so that's just that kind of thing. Okay, so there's a lot of that in our training. All right, it can be chop, it can be just a palm, it can be the fist, changes all the time. So it's short force, we call that, not long force. Bruce Lee often talked about 1 inch punch. So when you see people doing this, normally when it's most dramatic, I won't do it to Fontaine, but if you hold your pad that way, I'm not going to do it because it's not, you will fall over, but because it relies on the whole connection of the body, that is enough to easily throw people off. I didn't use much power there. But normally that should also penetrate into their body, right? So if she holds it away, I won't do it hard, but you can just see that's the idea. So it will shock the body, not just push you away, but shock the body. And that we call that 1 inch adjustment in our training, not actually 1 inch punch. So it means you're able to change your body, your force all the time. So this is what we call ward off training. Things like holding tree, santi, another practice that we do, form practice, all of the different things we learn, leg training. It's like the accumulation of all of those things produces the ward off force and the power force. Once the power's there, the jin has developed properly, you will also have the rollback force. So the ward off and the rollback are pretty much connected. One is to help attack or keep the opponent off balance, and the other one is to neutralize their force. Hope that was useful. Thanks, everyone.